because we're seeing the same mistakes being made by Phoenix here on this retake, completely leaving just detrimental holes just for the side of Destiny to make use of. So an awkward interaction there, resulting in 2 kills off the back of it. Destiny seem like they're going to be moving into round number 17 with possibly a flawless on their hands.
Casters don't do math. It's really hard sometimes to keep up exactly with the numbers, but was about to be flawless for Destiny as a no player to be felled, even if they didn't get all 5 on Phoenix's side. But eventually you do have a trade. You trade out 1 more rifle for a rifle, basically, but you really wanted to make sure Phoenix couldn't hold on to too many, because if you have 2 rifles, Dallas, typically the decision will be made that it's not a glass cannon. The team kind of needs to buy around that. You try to get the Jet ult online for the Blade Storm, and then overall the team should be fairly good for a substantial enough round that doesn't hurt you too bad to give a good shot for success. But losing 1 more definitely takes it. So it's okay, we've got 1. The Jet Blade Storm is still not online. How close are we? Do we have to fight for that ult? Do we hand them the rifle first and play for close frags with Sheriffs? And do we try to play around this super heavy-handedly, or do we just say they're the lone wolf and they're the primary weapon to fight with? It definitely complicates things, and a timeout is almost a necessity at this point, especially when you get 3 in a row, and then since then, it has been Destiny doing Destiny things on Haven and finding rabid success on opposing sites even, right? And making sure that they are able to play the map as a whole and read into where Phoenix are. Now you're in the docket to turn to the next page and say, okay, that's trap books out the window. They figured it out. They now know this location where I'm going to sit here as J-Phone. They know where Wadi's going to be for a post plant. They know we like to lap around through. Hey, we really can't bring that out any further. And if we do, it has to be some sort of variation on it because Destiny just know it too well.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything here isn't really gleaming problems for Phoenix or for Destiny any kind of right.
Not yet.
This game has really just been chalked down primarily to just finding more kills. And we see, I mean, on the board, at least, whenever you look at how many players are positive, you got the difference of Phoenix has a singular player with 1 over, and then the rest of the 3 doing what they're doing, which is kind of exactly similar to what Destiny's got, except for they only have 3. And that other player is like a 2-kill difference from their death and their kills. So it's just that small little factor there. We're seeing this difference of rounds really being made. So it's not enough to really go ahead and beat yourself up over from, but it apparently is concerning enough to at least go ahead and decide, hey, maybe we should call a timeout and see if we can start kind of really not putting as many bodies out there. Because, I mean, while we're doing great, while the trades are being made, there are some potential points for being caught out. And especially when you're playing so aggressively up towards C main, up against the likes of a Blade Storm, you're going to run into that. And it's just going to happen, especially if it's case. I mean, we've seen this guy play Neon, and he adapts that same mindset when it comes around a Jet. With the spike being down, Destiny's playing for this. We're going to see Shooter and Case both have this Blade Storm available. But are we going to have players actually go ahead and funnel this thing out? Are we going to see the pressure? Because we see the Armageddon come through. It's just a little bit late until finally the swims come out. But Case has been making a lap the entire time, ensuring that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, Case does the exact same thing Wadi did for Phoenix's offense on C site, where they said, okay, this player isn't really expected to go around this way. A little bit more expected for Case, though, in all consideration, but not super expected to lap all the way back through Garage. We buy time with Kyoto, and lots of teams will be a little bit slow in their positioning for the Armageddon, because it does take it quite a while to actually deal damage to the players within it, not only for its charge up time for the warning, but also for its actual point at which you placed it for where it reaches in that ultimate, whether it be the beginning, the middle, or the end. And that actually was a problem that plagued Phoenix in their series on Saturday. Misplaced it, lost a very big round, and very much so risked them losing out of that map because it was a very close call for them. But Destiny do it just enough, especially with the timing. You need that 1-2 wombo combo for extra assurance. And the gratuity from that will be a round win that now ties the series back up again at 9-9, as it is a pretty heavy rush in here towards B. Utility sent out by Phoenix will stall, and if you are Destiny, Dallas, you're not really going for the B side plant. Honestly, you can take the rotate elsewhere. You look at it, you even burn an extra utility. You've gotten the heck out of dodge, and they're still using ultimates.
What? Even then, we had a Rolling Thunder teased a couple times there for a second at a smile. Just trying to grab any kind of space off the back of it, but even then, eventually you get to the point where you're saying, oh, there's too many of us dead. It's not even really worth it at this point. even then, it just the comprehension's there. So Phoenix able to go ahead and close out one more round to work with. I mean, we saw that just look good from them. We saw that 3-round spree, but immediately answering back, it's going to be Destiny. But then the timeout being taken for Phoenix to understand that, okay, maybe things aren't looking all too hot here. We have to understand the situation, assess the problems, and find a solution. They've done exactly that. I mean, just by understanding that maybe pushing the agenda. I mean, going ahead, finding that aggression, but finding the timing off the back of it, because there has been a couple instances of COD timing inside this map thus far where you can say that we can catch these guys with util out. We can catch them making decisions because, I mean, these rounds are not going to be flawless. They're not going to be the situations, even with a singular blood on either side, like Chapo shutting down Geo off rip here. Sets a big kind of stall to a lot of plans. I mean, you see the sacrifice towards B to be made for that space on C, but adjustments are still having to be made for this post plant where you're saying, if there's any time to do it, let's go ahead and just kind of press the agenda now. They got to figure out where these holds are going to be made, and that's why Shooter's already swinging. Looking to get out there, letting all these players and flashes line up behind him, and looking to find the kills down that lane immediately as soon as they can.
Rolling Thunder was used. It's gone.
Gracias.
It just gets worse for Cumberland Destiny. Smile tried to use it. Off with his head, apparently, with a French for the side of the SEL Grand Finals if you're Phoenix. And there's a major difference between the way that we see Phoenix and Destiny try to take into the C site. You'll see a little bit of this moment here from Shooter. The tailwind to get away from the initial fight, the swing in. You'll hear the slow-mo. Off. There they go off with their head and even damage further down lane. But the difference between Destiny and Phoenix and the way that they take the C site, the same exact trip bar used for both rosters. So they have to avoid that. The updraft, the tailwind off towards Plat was where we saw it for Phoenix. Case does not go there. They go to default Ready Night stack and they swing close to it. They also don't use their Omen in a shrouded step towards platform as well, which is what we saw from Phoenix and also why we saw Geo have that one really big round where they got 3 kills with the Sheriff. They don't play that close over there either. They actually leave their Omen back inside C lobby to play for the long con to make sure they constantly have smokes to obfuscate an angle towards Hall if needed for the team. Their utility in their eyes a little bit more important than, say, having that extra player on the pitch. And they really trust in Case to be able to handle it. And while Case arguably should have handled that against Shooter and possibly could have had a second thereafter, because they don't, which is a common occurrence, not everyone can always do everything, Dallas, you have to make up for that. And there was no secondary player moving towards Garage. It was very flat, very one-dimensional, and Phoenix just swung back into the site and usurped control, and anything you tried to do to reclaim it, like the Rolling Thunder, never had the chance to really come out.
I mean, it's just problems from Destiny. It's holes, but it's not intended. It's not designed holes. It's just things that Phoenix are doing where they're able to go ahead and shut down what they need to, when they need to. And as I mentioned during that last round, it came down to a point where they understand that there's no Sentinel. So don't worry about the post plant. Don't worry about anything slowing us down. They're going to be trying to push the plate onto us. They're going to be trying to press the pedal. And, well, simply if we have that favor now, we got the clock ticking. And rather than running away and playing a post plant, why not bring that aggression to them? Why not just trying to play out these rounds, mow these guys down? But it's Gerardo doing that, starting this round off. Already knocking off 2 players, but Destiny plays this a little bit differently. They don't really push the agenda towards these sites, but they do understand the importance of how much space they've already taken. They don't want to overwhelm that last singular possible player. This is what we saw earlier. They are terrified of these Phoenix players. It was a 5v2 earlier, and we saw still they gave them the entire site and said, let's play retake. When you're in the attacking side, well, you have to eventually make that move yourself. Otherwise, you're going to run down the clock and make it impossible to win it out.
Yeah, and JP would be plenty happy with being able to go grab the operator and then fall back, but that's all the way down inside of lower A short. There's no real chance to get over towards Seward to do so, so JP will be happy with just trying to collect some kills and demoralize the economy further for Destiny. Because keep in mind, if Destiny were to lose this, they would not really have the ability to buy for a match point on this map. And because of that, it would be a really easy round result, or it should be a lot easier round result for Phoenix. But even with the win from Destiny, having them drop 3 rifles now puts them in a spot where even though they can buy, players are even worse for wear, and they'll still have the potential to be at match point for Phoenix as they win out this next one, with Destiny not really having the potential to buy for every player on the roster. It's kind of the think ahead to set up now to I care a little bit less about me in the moment to care more about you in the future, which is maybe a little counterintuitive, but also can work out in a lot of different ways. Shooter playing a different spot than they had previously, not in towards short and A time this time, instead off here towards long, hoping to maybe catch Case, who's been so eager to peek that, and there it is. You've got your one, you can fall back, and I would not be surprised if Shooter rotated all the way towards B to hold that down instead.
Yeah, I mean, just seeing the way this thing is going ahead and starting off, I mean, it's Phoenix knowing that they have to answer back, and I mean, just kind of going ahead and locking themselves in mentally a little bit more. So knowing that, meanwhile, obviously the tensions get high in the later rounds as you start getting to that point of closure, knowing you did see that last round being fumbled nearly for nothing and having two players give it up initially, that's kind of one of those things where it's almost like it's just, you can't have it happen under any circumstance. It's like a cardinal sin is what I was looking for. Just knowing that, I mean, that just, it's not supposed to be there. You're looking for those trades. You're looking for the players to get cut off. And even then still, after that effect, as good as you were hoping to look, you don't find two players dead this time. That's great for you. Worst part is you found 3 dead. So Phoenix, once again, in a situation where they only have 2 players remaining, and Destiny, this isn't a situation where they have to give that respect because, well, you already have Spike down. They're not holding anything anymore. They're going to be playing for this post. They're going to let that Spike go off. They're going to make sure they have some guns to carry over.
And with a lot of the players being stuck even into region shields this round, it's even more important that you keep these players up and online. Maybe Geo loses this next fight. Player, maybe if you want to rush them off towards mid, but I don't expect to see Destiny try to prowl out for these final frags. Their win condition has been met, and anything past this would just be too much of a risk into their back pocket. And this is a team that kind of keeps their conditions, their successes close to their heart, close to their chest, and uses that as a point of confidence. It's a tied series back once again. We finally saw a spree of 3 rounds in a row, starting off the second half, and it was met immediately back with Destiny, and then it was a 2-2. And now, this is the chance for Destiny to be the first team to reach match point on their map pick in Phoenix. What could they possibly do? 1 pip away from the Blade Storm. Shooter could get a good kill and then maybe give Wadi the rifle to help out. They have to use in the Blade Storm. You've got the Neural Theft coming out from JP. There's so much there for Phoenix that's potential, but at the same time, Destiny have 2 ultimates, the Armageddon and the From the Shadows, and you could use that in a variety of ways, as there is that kill for Shooter, who can then trade the weapon over towards Wadi if they wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely could have this little bit of a domino effect of going off the backup, but even then still more so when you look at the kind of Blade Storm in hand, I mean, the guy didn't really need the gun in the first place, but I mean, it's one of those late round scenarios where you're looking at the economy, you don't really know how things are going to go, and being on the defensive end of the board, you need to know that you have that alternative available if you do opt in for that operator during the last round. So, I mean, there's still a lot of kind of just toss-ups there to work with, but even then still more so, Shooter doesn't really opt for the operator in general. It's just more so there as kind of a right-click kill in case you get to that point where you need something close to a shotgun or a shorty in hand whenever somebody's close to you, like Smile, waiting around that corner inside garage for that player to be swinging. So already going ahead, holding things down. We see Phoenix trying to hold the line towards the C site. Some good damage done on Smile, but it's not enough to get the kill as everybody else is going ahead and funneling in with their health pulls looking relatively awkward because that Armageddon is on hand. That's going to be enough to go ahead and just find a little bit less ticks to get those managed kills, but Wadi swinging on the site, making not just a trade, but sacrificing a teammate for the greater good, results in Phoenix hitting themselves one more. So while this guy opened up the series, he may also be the same exact reason this map gets closed down.
You'll see.
Oh, it's so crazy to see that both sides are willing to play in for the double swing trade, but if I'm on the side of Destiny and I'm losing out on the first player on that swing out from Smile, I am decommitting as fast as humanly possible away from that double swing. You know that Phoenix play double swings. You know that Phoenix love to have that same wide angle, and they're not the type of team that lines up perfectly where you get those collat headshot kills, and you're like, okay, why were you standing in front of each other and behind each other? One person takes 3 steps, one person takes 1 step out, and it creates just enough of a difference that the chances for more are so slim to none, and they come out positively 95% of the time. You're really hoping that you're just not that 5% when it comes down to it. But this next round, and possibly the final round, Phoenix have ultimates to work with. Blade Storm out. Also using the Armageddon. Gerardo has 5 HP, and it's a clean up the remainder because the Armageddon from Wadi found another, and they knew that they were going to see Destiny sit and stack inside A main, and they punished them. And this round, as a result, could very well be the last we see.
Yeah, well, there's still a couple players alive. There's still a couple opportunities, and that spike isn't really going to be going down anytime soon. It's just more so playing the recovery mission, trying to get it done. And I mean, technically, A main is your new site. So you're just trying to buy time. Smile just wants this clock to diminish down, wants to find as much as you can, and hopefully tried to live in the meantime to go ahead and give enough time for Gio to maybe make that lap. But here he is, unfortunately late to the party, because you are going to be swinging into 3 players who are more than ready for you to line into their crosshairs, because it doesn't even take that many. It's just Shooter alone who can go ahead and close out that fight. So, I mean, to go ahead and look at Destiny and what they've done all season on the map, behave and shut down teams that we mentioned over and over again in a margin of at least what feels like 8 rounds every single time, show that, well, they're not invincible. Clearly. And who else than Phoenix to go ahead and put the first nail into the coffin? Because, I mean, keep in mind, this is a series at the end of the day, and we were expecting this first map to go in the direction of Destiny, to give themselves a bit of breathing room in the big scheme of things, keep this series drawn out possibly. But unfortunately, they don't get a hold of the map that we've seen them just have a firm grasp on all season. And even more so, knowing these next 2 maps usually look good for Phoenix, it depends on how you look at this. Either you're saying, oh, it's not that big of a deal, it's going to be a quick 3-0 now, or you could have that, optimistic ideology and say, hey, if we're just winning on each other's maps today, maybe this does go ahead and draw it a little bit longer.
Destiny has it in him, I'm sure, but it's going to be a very uphill battle. One of the greatest things about watching Phoenix play, Dallas, is those scenarios where it's a 3v1 or even a general peak that you'd kind of anticipate into like an A long or a B main, right? These like standard ideas. You have one person that has to get there fast. Typically it's their duelist. So they hold an angle that you have to wide swing into, and they're willing to kind of hold that fight, either win it, which we saw obviously with the final, or have a player just holding the angle to then peak lower with not only a height variation, but also a gap difference between the two, playing correctly with coordination of teammates. Phoenix do it every single time, even off of what feels like mundane general sight holds. It always feels like there's something new around a corner, an extra boogeyman to jump out and scare you, to grab your toes when you step out of bed in the middle of the night, right? Like, it's just that little bit of an extra threat. Even if there's only one person on the site, you just never know, and it can really throw a big fear factor to a lot of teams' faces. Was that what created enough evidence against Destiny? I think there's a multitude of things that gave just enough of an edge, but Destiny have to get the job done on either map 2 or map 3 if they don't want this to be a 3-0 grand finale, but time will tell. We'll be back after a quick break. Do not go anywhere. Let's see if Phoenix can continue to get it done. I hope you weren't expecting to get to go to bed at a convenient time tonight. It's going to be a tiresome Tuesday morning for you because the first map, if it has anything to go off of, just shows how evenly matched these two teams are. And though we said Destiny was the likely favorite, considering how good they are on Haven, Phoenix still managed to pull it off in a 13-11 scoreline and now get to head over to their map pick first of Lotus. But Dallas... Lotus is everyone's map pick. Let's be brutally honest in the current state of Val, so anything could happen here.
Yeah, and even then more so, I mean, just looking at these two squads and what's going to happen, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, it's still, while it could be their selection, keep in mind, it could be one of those things where optimistically, hey, we're just winning out each other's map picks today. But I mean, regardless, sticking to the time frame and everything, we did start broadcast an hour early, so technically, if this does go to 4 maps, it's equivalent to 3 maps with any other series over the course of the season. So there is some possibilities there, but even more so with Phoenix kicking things off with a win, that could cut things down to 3 where they are just one and done in this thing. Because as I mentioned earlier, with the scrimmage between these two teams, they are going to feel well acclimated between each other. But even more so, better yet, I think one of these teams are going to be a little bit more stressed, or there could be a bit of a script behind the scenes between these two to say, let's not let too much really get out there today because, well, at the end of the day, we still got to beat everybody else the second time around on land.
And Cumberland still have a whole bunch of teams they got to beat still in front of them for the CVAL championship, right? And it would be even funnier to have, having watched Cumberland on Thursday and then having to watch them again on Saturday and now watching both of them here on Monday to then turn it around next month to having to see both Cumberlands on land 2 days in a row, possibly the days before, right? And then on top, seeing them in Raleigh on June 1st, and technically the day before, so it'd like to be the day before. If they make it that far, and we'd love to see Cumberland make it that far because they're CVAL South team. We want to see the representation for the Southeast for the SEL teams moving that far. Because Converse unfortunately bounced out just yesterday in their lower round match. They did not get a chance to drop any lower because they started in the lower round instead of in the uppers. But it is what it is. They got further than they did previously, and I believe they were actually happy with where they got overall. But for Cumberland, their main strategy comes off of the Omen, Viper, Fade, Vice, and Raze combo if you are Phoenix. And it's likely going to be somewhat similar across the board for Destiny. We do know that they don't like to play the Fade as much as they do like to have the Tejo, and they use those salvos like most teams do. On offense, use it towards Mound, just in the opposing side, forcing players to either step up higher on Mound where your whole team can fight them, or to flush them back behind Crate or back into the archway towards C. And when it comes to B, it's just a great way to close off sight lines and keep a player out of heaven or possibly clear away that waterfall door. It's a really strong option for an agent, but shocking enough, Phoenix finds so much success on this map, Dallas, not needing to utilize that new Teo.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to at least give credit to Phoenix for not running the Tejo in the first place, but even then more so just opting in for that solo flash or just in general is another thing I'm going to be looking at because, I mean, Destiny running the Breach and running the Vice is that whole thing where on the attacking side, you can use that Arcros almost, I mean, like a Lear combined with the matter of also being like a flash because it's that whole thing where you're throwing it, you instant proc it, then you pick it up immediately as it's proc, or better yet, just to get destroyed and it regenerates itself. So it's one of those things where Phoenix are going to be a little bit more conservative with their actual pushes, playing a little bit more off information, and even then just kind of using shooter to clearly push the agenda here. So we're going to see exactly how that goes because when we talk about aggression, of course, we've already seen Case wanting to push out before, but when you have that breach, that's the way it's going to be used, and it's still not going to do much, as you can tell here in this first round.
Phoenix are just so good at these pistol rounds, whether it be forcing players to step close to them or just actually hitting their shots consistently with pistols. I don't know what it is. It feels like they said, okay, let's get 5 players that are really good at shooting the Ghost and or Sheriffs or just the Classic, and then try to teach them the remainder of the game. And they would have to have scoped pretty far to find these 5, considering they're all brought in, right? But no matter the case, okay, J-Phone, this is toying with your food at its finest. No matter the case, they are now flawless continuing on throughout their pistols in this series. They get it again, but remember the start of the first half when they were on offense on Haven, it was the same thing. They won the pistol, that time flawlessly, this time not. And on top of that, right after, they lost because Destiny went for a semi-big buy and actually did usurp control over round 2. That failed in the second half, though, and I'd likely see Destiny kind of hesitate to do the exact same thing, knowing how that difference in rounds, Dallas, was enough to force them away from OT and not give them a chance to win their own map pick.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's over the course of it. We talked about the 7-5, and we just didn't even see that, but still the piss around and results in 3-2 afterwards, making a 3-0 start, especially after we saw a 1-1 off the get-go. I mean, they compensated for it, and they found that difference that they needed and just really drove that thing home. But even then, still, it was a 13-11 by the end of the map. So, I mean, every single last one of these kind of encounters start to really pile up and matter in the big scheme of it. But speaking of encounters, already off the get-go, we're seeing a good bit of damage being done here to Vice. Just not much health really within the health pool of Kyoto. We see that Case is also now being funneled out because where's this guy going to be? Well, if he's not right at the door directly to us, what's the second closest place? Well, right there behind the tomb. And he's not there either. So he's got to be somewhere nearby. So throw a paint shell, funnel everybody out, and see what's really going to be left remaining. Because in a 3v1 situation, we're expecting Phoenix to win this round, but it depends on how strong of a definitive one it's going to be, considering that Geo is still alive, has a sheriff in hand, has really nothing left to lose, knowing you're going to be buying a gun in the next round. So I'm excited to see what he can manage.
The one thing for Phoenix as well, as we've talked a lot on Ascent, is they feel like a team that has so much map comprehension, so much map knowledge, that it feels almost impossible for teams to be able to shut that down. You combo that with obviously the big difference of not having a Teo who's really good at forcing gunfights to be on their terms. They want to be able to do that, but they instead power through the what should be more difficult time of not being able to do so with pure gun skill and map comprehension. And the best way to do that is with a lot of smokes, toxic screens, separating sight lines. The Viper's really strong for that. And in the fade, the big difference of the fade, forcing sightlines to be separated. Phoenix are already an unbelievably confident team, Dallas, when it comes to gunfights, knowing that they are more likely than not going to win against their cohorts on the other side. And they still find success against some of the best teams you could possibly ask for in Collegiate, who they should have players just as good, if not better, in the gun skill department. That's just what Phoenix are really good at kind of differentiating themselves from. They're a different beast within the same pack, so to say, of the dangers and the trials that come through. A big boost pack to maybe chance up for a frag from Shooter. Case, though, will shut that down. Did take a lot of damage, and that's why you have FCell jump on top of Pillar. But you lost a little bit more than you could chew this way, and Gerardo had broken Link Door, and they were not anticipating this. Just J-Phone now alone in a 1v2.
I mean, very much doable. Just can't be swinging with utility out. That makes it very much less doable.
That was evidence.
Name of the game. You're fighting with guns. Utility does a lot. Don't do that much. Just complete scuffles here towards A main. I was expecting rounds like this, but I wasn't expecting it so consistently. Like, usually teams will learn their lesson and be like, let's just start hitting B and C. Plays a trip over here towards A and just kind of leave it alone. I mean, I understand the emphasis to say, hey, let's just kind of get these rounds over with. Let's just kill as many guys as we can and just see, hey, is A the place or is it not the place? Do we win the round in the first 5 seconds or do we lose it? It's a nice little gamble I can appreciate as a gambling man myself.
The channel points, you mean?
Of course. What do you think I was talking about? And a Halloween candy.
That is true.
A lot Easter of teams, candy too. I have a lot of candy left from Sunday.
A lot of teams on the approach to C will have to counteract the Omen dark cover that gets placed on that A main entrance right off towards Mound. Thankfully, Phoenix didn't really have to deal with that. Teos are good at countering it to force the team to have to take a step back through their own dark cover that's placed afterwards. The Vice and all those thorns needs to be kind of circumnavigated, and you have two players to do so. Phoenix love to use the Shrouded Step to get into space alongside their arrays, which is the one difference, again, we saw between Destiny and Phoenix on Haven when it came to the C-side pushes. And the way that they do so makes it so that you either have to deal with both players very quickly and perfectly with your shots, or just get one and do what you kind of expected in the first place. Either lose your duelist or lose a controller after their job has been mostly done past that point. And Phoenix used that now to get a man advantage on site in a post-plant scenario where everyone has fallen back towards Mound and can lock down this C spike. No Tejo salvos, meaning all of the utility that they have has to be pretty much purely gun up. But guess what, Dallas? That's where Phoenix are so damn good at. The final three still standing, losing only one in the post-plant. And it is exactly what Phoenix needed. Another round win to put them up 3-1 and another eco in Destiny's lap.
It's these kind of situations where, I mean, while it's not the Viper alone setting the tone of these fights, I mean, Jape's definitely doing a lot in these scenarios. It's metaphorically when the dust kicks up, we can see these guys just slipping a little bit of toxic gas in there, just so Destiny doesn't really notice it till it's too late. And we just see players dropping like flies. Once the going gets tough for him, Phoenix always finds a way. We've seen has managed to keep much more players alive by the end of these big scuffles than Destiny has. And I think it's understanding the investment and knowing these trades. We're seeing the one-by-ones. We're seeing the dedicated allocation of resources before the fight even starts because they're expecting it. Rather than just saying, oh God, we actually have to throw a lot of stuff at this. It's a lot of guys here. And when they're on the attacking side, they have that luxury of knowing already, saying, why not? When Destiny should, understandably get more value, Phoenix is getting more players. Speaking of value, finding 2 players with a headshot off the Sheriff, well, that's really good. And when Case tries it a 3rd, well, the only way you can beat it is finding a 4th and a 5th.
Oh, J-Phone cuts off, has Case and Smile there, but can only get away with the first. Time is of the essence, but they got 40 seconds. They could poke and prod at any site they truly wanted to. And with the audio cue towards B, Destiny could realize, well, Spike's not down just yet. They're going to start moving, but they don't want Smile to be alone. They'd like to move into where those weapons were dropped and maybe collect those. There'll be plenty of time to rotate between these 2 sites, no matter where Phoenix opt to. Do we get a site plant? All the way down just below ropes. Smile, trying to concuss, and Blast goes down instead, though. J-Phone's got 3, and the Arc Rose. They'll ready it first for an actual step through. Geo gets a flash on top. J-Phone not really falling for any of that as the paranoia does flush them away from top rope, and there's your time bot with the Arc Rose. Destiny. Sheriff's only in hand, did not collect any of the weapons, and J-Phone has 4. Do they get the ace? No! Gerardo breaking through, and Shooter a little bit, awry with the shots at the start, but plenty fine to still conclude for the frag. And who else but J-Phone on the map of Lotus Dallas? We highlight reeled them 4 weeks ago on this map, and they're coming through once again. 4 rounds in and 8 kills.
We can make a collage of this entire season alone with all the Lotus picks that come through of how many players get domed by those guys in that corner cubby. Just not checking it, not expecting somebody to corner themselves. But even whether it's hugging that wall towards the backside and players swinging towards that back box, or even more so whenever they're actually sitting right up against the wall. And then we see guys swinging, just looking off in an Narnia. That wasn't the case for you, Cumberland. Not looking at you there. But it's just a matter of understanding that there's more than likely going to be somebody there. And a cornered beast is the most terrifying one to have to deal with.
When the toxic screen goes up here for Phoenix, that'll likely be the song to cue, but Smile wanted to play very close into the face. Destiny still at a player disadvantage, though, thanks to that initial play and the failure off towards A main. Garden comes out of all things as well, and they wanted to go up into the face of Destiny. Kyoto will get a freebie towards JP, but you still have so much utility for your post plant, the Vice, you have a Fade, that it feels really like an insurmountable wall. As they'll go in for an ult once again, the Nightfall. Phoenix want to do everything. This is a crazy round from them in terms of commitments. But you might as well, you have them all locked in, you have all the ultimates coming up so early. Try to go ahead and force your will. As Dorado has 5 HP and will peek their shoulder around the bend, and their hooded cloak will be spotted by FSAU, their doppelganger, for Phoenix, and will net once again a round success for them. It's 3 in a row. We did not see a 3 in a row until the start of the second half on Haven, and we already have it just 6 rounds in.
Well, another thing we haven't seen just yet is a 4-round discrepancy between these two teams. The highest we've seen so far wasn't even 3, it was 2. Off the back of those rounds, or better yet, the 3 with the start of that second half. But I mean, beyond that, I'm negating the pistol round. Even then, still, we're seeing 3 off that alone. So, it's just insane to see that Phoenix, clearly able to go ahead and show that while they can also keep things tight and relatively entertaining when it comes around to the map selection of Destiny, going into this map selection of their own, they're able to go ahead and let the bark meet the bite. It's that matter of they are showing that they have some attention on this map, knowing that they have a bit of a read on Destiny on this map, and even more so, they are just better at taking these trades. And I mean, when you look at the A site and why they even take those fights so much, as I said earlier, it's a big scuffle right off the get-go that they like to take so often because they know that, well, why the heck not? If you can end the round immediately, what's the point of wasting all those seconds afterwards when the spike's going to go down? You're going to force that retake, or better yet, force the players to just go into hiding and try to save. So, I mean, seeing how they're doing this, they're confident enough not only to win those fights, but know that even then, as I talked about, a respective space, knowing what you've already accumulated, that A push comes out so often they know that if they win that, they've already taken that third of the map.
Phoenix will make a little bit of noise on the playoff towards A, but they're leaving that up to their Viper and Viper alone. But they've gotten 2 first bloods, or sorry, 1 first blood and a little bit of damage attempted on the playoff towards A. Just make noise. There's the second death. There it is finally for JP. Make a little bit of noise. Try to force out some utility. But you know that there is only a Sheriff on C, and it's the same thing for A, so just try to play a numbers advantage while you still have the opportunity to do so. You don't have a raise. The only way to close the gap through the Vice utility would be to use F-Stout in with a Shrouded Step, so they do opt to do so into that corner cubby. They have a From the Shadow, so if they had to rotate later, maybe you would argue they could be capable of doing so, but the team is here on C, and they'll bait out the spike plant, and they'll hunt for these kills. 2 players looking close. 1 in Waterfall. They'll be all the way close to Gerardo, but they did not spot them just yet. They're so close. Paranoias them and gets damage to the body as well. Swing by Wadi. Has to get a kill. Smile with utility. Showstopper for Case. Oh my goodness. Suffocating. There it is for Destiny. And Phoenix will have their first round loss since round 3 finally confirmed on them in the docket.
Yeah, not too much of an actual round differential there when it comes around to how long it took them to find that. But I mean, expected at some point or another when you accumulate 5 ultimates, to at least go home and whip a couple of those out, especially in a 5v3 situation, just to set the tone and really just drag it into what's going on here. How are we going to do this? But I mean, even then, looking what was happening there off JFO, making that swing, getting paranoid, you're thinking, okay, why do you not just stick it out at that point? You have the fully automatic weapon. You know a player's right there in front of you who just threw that utility out, and you're not opting to shoot. But it's another one of those situations that we can go back to map number 1. How many guys are there? And it was definitely more than 1. So trying to go ahead, find another quick round win. It's going to be CU Phoenix pushing things over towards C Mound, and they didn't even get to the darn mound before they killed the majority of the team of Destiny.
I mean, that's really what Phoenix want. They want to have a team try to flank them like that. They want to have a team play so heavy into the face. That's the strengths. They don't need a Teo to force you to fight against them if you're just willing to fight against them in the first place. There's the From the Shadows, though. It'll be a free site plant on A since they've left their Viper of JP close by. They know that they'll have full contention there. And then it's just a slow crawl to get your Vice back in, and that's J-Phone. Who else but J-Phone? And the Viper's Pit is in. And the best part about the last round, Dallas, Case used the Showstopper, which means there is no direct major counter to the Viper's Pit. Even if you Rolling Thundered this to retake, the chances of you getting all of them and not having a player step back into the Viper's Pit to help out JP is very slim, especially with how far JP is going to be within that Viper's Pit all the way off towards Garden. F-Sal, though, does get eviscerated by Gerardo. Gerardo hoping for J-Phone as well. There it is, right into the line of sight. No time to go for this defuse, though, and JP is aware of that. They'll hunt for more, and though Gerardo gets their 3K. You got the round win, and that's really all you wanted if you were Phoenix. You've guaranteed an even half, and there's still 4 more to go.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, able to go ahead and guarantee that even half. That's a great look for him, clearly on the side of Phoenix. But even then beyond that, it's a matter of Destiny, I think, also being a little bit more hesitant inside of this map than we seem generally. Looking at that last one, I mean, we gave them the credit, considering that they haven't done that very often. Not very many teams in Collegiate end up doing this, where they effectively use their ultimates on kind of a scattered basis, able to allocate those over the course of these rounds. But when you see 4 of those yellow lights right in front of you from a singular team, at any given point, you're saying, when are these going to be used? When are these going to be kind of funneled out there? When are these just going to be thrown just to find some level of effect inside a round to get something? And obviously, Destiny, they need a third. They have to have a third. I mean, 10-2 on this is a death sentence. 9-3. I mean, it's a worlds of a difference, but it's just one singular round. You can just go ahead and lock it down and get the job done. Destiny is sadly in a situation where they don't have much control of when to go ahead and throw that out, considering that, well, they're on defense and they're just waiting on swings. And in a situation like this, they make it look really good.
Shooter just pulls out the classic thanks to the Garden. Right clicks for a freebie, and that's why even with the Guardian, you can't be playing these oh so close corners. That weapon is just too easy, too free for its commitment. Gerardo uses their paranoia, their last chance really to cut down a sight line, and they do have covers, but it's really a gun up from this point onwards, and oh, they flick down to Wadi, who was only at 19 HP, but precision not exactly there, and the shot's not clicking in time. It is another round win once again to Phoenix. And when you have so many of these gunfights going wrong away from the site that Phoenix are hitting, you have to start putting the picture together a little bit more effectively and have the utility already going out. If you were looking to guard in there, you'd look to also flash at the exact same time. Instead, the flash from Smile comes late. Gio maybe used it early. Timing is wrong, and the same thing we saw almost cost Phoenix a couple of big rounds on Haven of having utility out when they needed to be gunfighting is plaguing Destiny in very important moments.
Yeah. Just not giving themselves really the chance to even fight back if the possibility presents itself. So already looking to go ahead and get him in an initial scuffle. J-Phone, you got to lead that responsibility to Shooter. That's the one who's been doing it this entire time. You being a Sentinel isn't really the best possibility to get that job done. While definitely doable, well, not nearly as feasible, all things considered. Because once again, when you talk about swinging, getting shots, there's Shooter popping his face out and saying, hey, that's my job. I'm pretty good at it. Let's see if we can do it one more time. And there it is. Not only a second, possibly a third, looking to line up. Has the shots there on the body. It just doesn't go up towards the head. But it's okay. JP's here on site. I'm going to go ahead and find one more in the process. Not looking over towards those stairs. And here's Kyoto with a bit of a lap around, a curveball, and another round win for Destiny.
It's unfortunate, too, for JP because they didn't need to worry about it. The audio cues on towards sites. They could wait for a spike to be touched. Their priority needs to be that line of sight towards stairs first. And they thought they were close enough around the bend that it wouldn't be an issue. And it's just one of those things where you look at it and say, well, we gotta have to take it on the chin. And even though we did see 2 rounds in a row prior to that for Phoenix, they were costly rounds, 1 to 2 players surviving, even that at the end. And Destiny can be happy with the result, saying, we got it. We'll have another rifle in our hands for the whole roster. And Phoenix will not be able to bring everything to the table. 2 rounds left in this half. When we talked about 9-3, the 9-3 curse, the being so far down in a deficit halfway through a series, the chances of Cumberland Phoenix getting to 9, I may have to make sure I specify the Phoenix. The chances of them getting to 9 here have very much so slimmed for that margin. But it's going to be a B site take for 2 players. They'll do a heavy link likely off towards Link or have those players with Spike rotate into Link. The toxic screen greatly assists to do so. But Gerardo has absolutely torn apart this Phoenix roster multiple times with this judge. And they'll likely do so again, even getting the flick to J-Phone. It is a Destiny kill feed. Wadi trying to do something. But when you already have, 3 players dead, only a single kill to your name, it is hard pressed to find much success past that point, and it will be short-lived, only getting 2 in total for the team.
I mean, it would have managed something there, but you got to look at the economy. It's enough to go ahead and at least manage to buy the weaponry, but the armor isn't really there to back it up on Phoenix's side. But already guaranteeing themselves a guaranteed. I mean, that's the best part, because I mean, with so many toss-ups already coming your direction, finding a guaranteed advantage at the end of the half, that's going to be huge, considering how consistently we're seeing Phoenix win these pistol rounds. So 7-5. Good looks for them if they end up sleeping on this one. But it's 8, 9, and you're looking at that double-digit kind of checkpoint chokehold kind of scenario. But Destiny clearly holding out a couple curveballs to get this thing done. As we just saw, that pace kind of pushed up to manage to see if that showstopper could come into play. The rest of the team trying to get something done there as well back towards Mound, but one button press results in 4. To go ahead and just completely knock out the side of Phoenix in a flawless manner on Destiny's behalf, which clearly Gio getting a 4K was a huge facilitator of that.
What the heck are you doing? FSAO is knife out, judge in hand, doesn't have his teammate clear out the arc rows, is getting body blocked. They're all worried about the Armageddon that's still 20 yards behind them. You have a whole mountain you can hide behind. The team is just so disjointed there. What the heck are you doing?
No. They were lined up. Okay?
Why are they lined up?
Because they're in school. And teachers always tell you to line up if you're going to your next class,
I
In
hold my
elementary
tongue.
school, at least.
I hold my tongue like the scoreline held at 7 for the final 3 of the first half if you're Phoenix. They'll have their chance in the pistol, though, for defense. Okay, Case, that's a little unlucky to watch. Dorado gets a little bit further off of it instead of you. And the offense of Destiny really want to get in there. Shooter, that's just gross, and it gets worse. 2 before they fall to Kyoto. Wadi gets them on that refrag. Smile has 1 HP. Does not really matter what weapon you would swing, Myth. FZAO has been really good about the classic all day, and that will be the one to finish the job there, and it's just the Lonely Vice now for Destiny and Geo. Yeah, Geo's good, Dallas, but we've seen J-Phone on this Vice absolutely eviscerate any competition for this map in particular. And Geo is good, but man, oh man, it's hard to see the same level of success across the board as... You're going to have to pray for a pretty much perfect return and that the Ghost even has enough ammo to do that. Essentially, you're still having to break through door, make noise, and even get back over towards Spike.
Where are you?
It's the fact they're even giving this guy the space. I mean, obviously, it's a matter of respect. Still, play the game, win the round. Don't throw anything out there to possibly just kind of bite you in the rear, but...
30 seconds left.
We saw a knife kill during the last one, man. You gotta put these guys in their place. You're in a 4v1 scenario.
Says something pithy, and we pretend to tolerate them. Go ahead. I'll wait. Now we wait. Rip and tear.
That's so funny.
Man, I love Vice's lines.
Because she's the villain. We haven't seen much of those. Like, you know, Fade is like, we've seen a lot of edgy, kind of like, you know, Omen being edgy and Fade being edgy, but Vice is, you know, like, I hate all of them. Like, unironically.
They're the Reaper from Overwatch, right? Which is crazy. You assume we kind of be Omen because of the cloak and everything, but not the case. Not the case at all.
Retrieving
Sounds
flash.
like a lawsuit. That's why they didn't do it.
They didn't make him edgy because of the chances.
I mean,
Could
you're
be the
fighting
case.
Blizzard, sure, but then you start fighting Microsoft? Pfft,
Yeah.
good luck. Your game doesn't work on Windows anymore.
Everyone's gonna have to switch to Ubuntu. Good luck opening any programs. Pseudo cry reclaiming a console game. I don't know. This round, though, still in control for Phoenix, though the plenty of utility that is there for Destiny will likely be at least a problem in some capacity for the step in towards site. Shooter is real slow with it. This is another chance where you could throw that without stepping into the dark cover and be plenty fine, but you somehow decided that it was a smarter decision to go into it, and Gerardo gets a rifle, which now carries through his body thanks to that. And this is where small things kind of add up. It capitulates to drowning, essentially, right? It's small amounts of water that tally in and can just choke out your defense and the chances for the success. Bulldog at hand for J-Phone, playing in drop. Kyoto is pixel peeking. It's going to be a double layer hold, but whoa, what an early shot attempt there. They're stunned, though, and still stuck off towards drop. They'll arc rose themselves, and though they'll avoid the stun from Smile, you don't know where Gerardo exactly is, and you have to try to avoid that line of sight. It's a quick sprint in, and it's Gerardo getting 4. Hey, Shooter, thanks, I think is what's being said across the room right now across the esports lab. Thanks for the rifle. It just got you myself 3 more kills on top. Yeah, we'll gladly take that for our 6th.
Go upgrade not only from a sheriff where you invested or a shorty where you're playing in that smoke by design. On the back of a classic free gun, you're saying, oh, this is nice. Not only for, you know, just that round alone carrying over the Vandal to the next. I mean, look at the guy's money because of it. Saved so much over the course of heading into this next round. I mean, it seemingly you just created a savings account off, you know, 2 minutes of game time.
J-Phone. Oh my God! 3 now, making a 4 J-Phone. Pad those stats now.
He's already dead.
Clip's still been made, though. You still got your moments. But it's 2 on 4, and the whole team is stacked up here on C, and with the numbers advantage, I don't know, it'll be hard-pressed to even value or rotate. Shots going out, JP still wins that! Barely getting assistance from J-Phone from the earlier fights. Almost not even necessary, and JP can fall back, play the numbers game and the advantage. And Geo, what a shot, though, to Wadi. Has to pull off a Nye Miracle. Vark throws out, waiting for a moment, off with JP. Only took a single bullet. They were like 6 HP at the time, and Geo, oh, no Two major clutches from the Vices on both rosters. My God, they refuse to go down without a fight.
Well, that's how Vice is supposed to play. We've seen Vices play more like duelists than actual Sentinels more times than not. So it makes sense if you're hitting your shots to get yourself to a point where, let's just go ahead. Keep it close. Keep it interesting.
Sorry, Gio, you don't get a clip, actually. The Sheriff one's slightly more impressive. Though, honestly, I think they're both equally as impressive. Making a big return there, and Destiny essentially keeping them alive in this map, which is arguably the more important factor for them. Phoenix, who have been so good about playing on the offense and using their combo of the Viper alone off towards A and constantly being an ever-present threat for the team and accessibility for their rotate. You don't have that if you're Destiny. So instead, you can move 2 players there. You don't use your Shrouded Step to get into space on C. You didn't do it on C on Haven, so you're not going to do it on C typically for Lotus. So you'll leave them close in with your Vice of Geo onto the A site. Makes it a little bit more accessible. The Tejo could close off multiple sight lines here towards B, using your salvos to flush players out. So that is a very much so viable chance for you. And then that means that those 2 players on A on the approach can rotate in through Link and make their presence known, making sure no one's in Link, and both Waterfall and Heaven have been forced away by the salvos. You can get a free plant down now on B.
Yeah, I mean, free is used lightly here, considering the sharks that are surrounding Destiny right now. Phoenix is already set up for this. They're already looking to push the agenda on it, and Shooter is able to go ahead and take the first couple strides, hitting not only 1, not 2, but 3 players just collectively, and well, everything past that point just completely crumbles apart. I mean, what a retake. I mean, it was just seconds that Spike was even managed to stay down, to where the only silver lining for that is Destiny got 300 extra creds off getting the plant down, because everything past that wasn't pretty.
Yeah, B sites, that's a battle that's not an easy one to contend with, especially when you don't have something like a Viper to close off sight lines, a Snakebite to stall even longer, right? Salvos are good, but you're having to use those salvos to get into B. You don't really have anything for the moments thereafter. Vice is great. The Vice and Tejo combo is unreal powerful. But Geo was off on A on the approach with Gerardo. They were going to be the last one through. They weren't able to be the person to close out those other sight lines, and they also were playing this utility battle on the A side of the approach to get in towards Switch to maybe force Phoenix back on their defense. Little things added up and inevitably lead to a trickling effect once again for Phoenix to come away with their 9th round win, and they're hoping for a 10th right here, as it is a C site push. 4 players through Mound. Finally, you see Shooter Case looking to step through the archway and get in. But FSAO and Shooter have shut down everything. And while that was a bit awkward there with the Sheriff in hand from Toronto, the matter has been essentially dealt with. And Phoenix have 3 players left standing to the 1 in the Spike. Dallas is completely in their control, and they can just buy as much time as humanly possible with this Poison Cloud and constantly just let those toxins tally back up and then wait. Another dark cover. When that's done, another Poison Cloud. What are you going to do to try to get into that archway?
It's like the second, third time we've seen this out of Destiny so far. Just kind of going ahead and having a push that feels relatively split, and then just losing the spike over to Phoenix in the meantime, and well, just create this wall, this Fort Knox around it. Just unable to really do anything to kind of get yourself into a situation. But, I mean, applying fire through a smoke, that's a pretty darn good way to get something rolling, but you still got 2 players to deal with, whether or not you have the Steel Garden or not, whether or not you don't have primary weapons. You've given them so many rounds now, and you've let so much effect take place where, I mean, they got just as heavy hitting secondaries as well. So, good looks on Phoenix, hitting themselves a double-digit checkpoint chokehold kind of scenario, but, I mean, this is not a kind of match if I'm expecting for that to come into play.
Double digits acquired. Genuinely speaking, if you're on the Phoenix roster, what could you do to make things even worse for wear for Destiny? Well, that wouldn't be it. Unlucky. We'll ignore that we ever saw that. Don't worry. Please replay it. One thing you can do is use your ultimates on the approach to shut that down if you can find out what the numbers advantage is for Destiny, which we've seen a lot that they've been playing so heavily into C. But your Fade doesn't actually have to be there, and your Fade now needs to use it for a retake, because it's looking like players want to put a lot of emphasis in towards B Hall. Maybe that's either to use Switch on Door because they still want to hit the C site, or it is their attempt to actually gain control over towards B. Time will tell, but Door Switch has been pulled, and Shooter even gets a shot through the toxic screen. A different way to play it. That Viper really been helping out in this second half, and JP has been so darn good about it. Wadi off with Gerado's head. Shooter wants to swing heavy, gets their third, and while they'll fall to their doppelganger, it's 11. Season high for Phoenix to try to essentially bury this Destiny roster and say, there's a reason why you're our secondary team. We love you, but we also want to get this done in 3.
I mean, you really can't blame them. Seeing the way they went ahead and closed out that first map, I mean, it was just not only just a hemorrhaging wound to get things kicking off, but even more so, it's just a detriment to Destiny knowing that things did not start off well during the second map as well. When you're looking for that mental recovery, when you're looking for any kind of resilience or retort, better yet, to be made there. So things are looking a little bit awkward here for them as they call the timeout. They had the showstopper to play with, that being realistically their only curveball, while still guarding for a retake seems a lot more impactful in the big scheme of things. So, I mean, unfortunate for them knowing that how things are going, and especially how gunfights are just being strung along. They're just never really going to their favor, and it feels like a constant weight that only gets heavier over the course of the series. I mean, that detriment of 4 rounds, that delta has not really been there at all during map number 1, and map number 2 we've seen it now 2 times. So maybe the score differential, while you don't want it to get bigger, you got to make sure to kind of lock in, at least keep it at 3, and then make sure that you do not let another 3-0 start put you in that hole even more so what we saw previously.
Garden and the From the Shadows are still up for Phoenix. The thing about Case right now with the showstopper is they're in this spot where they can't use it, Dallas. They can't feel comfortable enough to use it because JP has the Viper's Pit. You hear the Viper's Pit go online, which is a couple pips away, but you hear that go online, and that showstopper has to be used for that. Remember, previous half, JP goes in, only one moving towards A, puts down the Viper's Pit, and all of that side is completely lost, and you can't really retake that successfully because you can't get through to that Viper. And the showstopper is the best way possible to try to get that done. And they'd used it the round prior, and they waited for the A side hit until then. And it's just got worse. 3 kills already for Phoenix. 2 players who've left Spike essentially on site just outside of Tree, with no real way to reclaim that ground into it. And you wanted to take Door maybe if you're Gerado, but Shooter flank spin from attacker spawn alongside JP, and they'll get they'll get Shooter, I should say, guaranteed their own showstopper with 2 frags to close it, and it's match point for Phoenix. 2-0 could be our series result at the end of this round, Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, another thing that doesn't make the showstopper very useful is if Case is dead at the very beginning of a round, and this entire half hasn't really been the hottest point for him. Not really able to find nearly as much initiative as what we've seen on Shooter. As you can tell from the scoreboard alone, one duelist is playing like you expect your duelist to play, and then one is just struggling to really get that pacing. And I mean, we've seen Case on the Neon, we've seen Case on the Jet, we've seen Case on a lot of these different duelists, but hasn't really looked super comfortable on the Rays here tonight thus far.
Case wants to be, once again, effective. Something that has been hard pressed, like you were mentioning, to do so for Destiny overall and for Case individually. Entering territory where you have to act fast in. It's the first blood loss again for Destiny. Wadi rubbing it in as well, just moments after. And Phoenix will restabilize their defense, knowing they do not need to be close towards B main, nor behind that box. FSAO knows where Smile is. Wants to get more than one, and there it is, 2 free.
Down, C.
And it's only 2 remaining players for Destiny. And I don't know, Geo's been good, but is Geo good enough to have another round result that leads into a 4K to close? Gerado having gotten the one there means that Geo's role and responsibility is a little bit less than prior. Especially with a second now to them, 2 on 3. Spike, though, still completely under control for Phoenix's defense. They've got players in attacker spawn, watching
left.
both inside lanes. 2 players on mound watching the C door. And if you do take the B door connector, guess what? It's an audio cue and you're guaranteed to be spotted in the process, but you could use the door in a dark cover to try to get both. And there's the cover going down, but they're just gonna spray through. Do they get enough damage off? It's so close, but they got it. And they'll make their way into B to go for this plant, and there's no stopping this, despite how close the time is. They're clearing out all of that connector. And now the remainder time to move in towards site. Gerardo wants to contest. They want to move forward here. Wadi close to the shorty. Doesn't know JP's up on the bin, and Gio's alone. Needs to get 3 kills, 4 in the round in total. Has to go for more, but can only find JP. And it's 13-7, the end result of map 2 in this best of 5 grand finale.
Defenders win.
One of those matters where, I mean, it comes down to the countdown, not having all 3 swing at once, not having it be too late. It's more of a matter of saying, we got 3 players there. I'm going to count down. I go on 2. Both of you go off 1. So there's that nice little leniency of having a breathing period and having that adjustment. But even then still, it's a third player making that countdown, saying, all right, give us the comm. Let us know where he is. Execute, kill. And I don't think Phoenix is one of those teams to mess that up, because I feel like they've done it way too many times past this point. So seeing how Lotus has gone, biggest round differential we've seen thus far. They lock it down, they get the job done, and they show that, well, while this was their map pick, Ascent is basically everyone. So if they can beat not only Destiny on their map selection, beat Destiny on their own map selection, in a map where it always feels relatively even at the end of the day, because everybody's supposed to know it. If you know their own map better, not looking too hot, but there's still possibility for them.
We call it the map where good teams go to die. Sorry, Blake, to continuously mention it, but that is just the case. So maybe there is a story to unfold in Destiny's favor. But I'll talk a little bit about the way that we see Phoenix throughout the series, or throughout maps, constantly play in, having one person deep, and then they're ready to have a secondary player swing afterwards. It's the same thing in that final moment. The dark cover, they know they don't have visual for all sides of it on the bubble. And instead of just saying, okay, leave a player to watch the other side in case somebody prowls through, they move a player there to actively watch that side, knowing they have a numbers advantage and taking advantage of it. That's the difference we see for Phoenix against a lot of rosters in the SEO and a lot of rosters in collegiate. They actively take those steps in the moment, despite that moment only lasting 10, 15 seconds, if even that, they still make those steps to make sure that they can be the best of the best and elevate just that little bit of a slim margin to shut down ridiculously good rosters like Destiny is. But before we jump on over to map 3 of Ascent, we're going to go to a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Let's see how this series continues to pan out. 2-0, our series score to this point, Dallas. And the question on everyone's mind, will Cumberland come away with a victory here? That one's been answered. We just now need to figure out which Cumberland is coming away with a victory here. Map 3, possibly the last one. And Phoenix want to get the job done on arguably their best map we've seen them performance on wise throughout the entirety of the league.
Yeah, I mean, this is the map that feels like, I mean, always where good teams are not going to die. I'm not going to say what you say. It's where they always like to keep things interesting, where they always kind of establish, hey, there's a definitive standard here. There is a fine line between a great team and a good team. And whenever you get those two great teams, you should be seeing those kind of big score discrepancies or the 13-11s. There's never really that kind of margin of the 7 to 9 range. It's always double digits from both sides or just an absolute stomp. And I think, honestly, these two teams, there's a good team here, there's a great team here, and there's also the possibility of showing that there is an amazing team here. And between these two, we just don't know which one is really yet. I mean, obviously, Phoenix seems like they are better already being up in the series, but beyond that, going next into Ascent, are they really that much better? This is the map where you can really go ahead and just really drive that thing in to say, I mean, yeah, should be. And this is the place where they can really prove that.
Now, we know Cumberland Phoenix like to play this map, and they like to stick to the kind of default style, right? They played this against JMU. I think Destiny had also ended up playing against JMU, and we didn't really see too many crazy things out of Phoenix. They like to play the standard Sova, KJ, Jet, KO, and Omen. But turn that around with Destiny against JMU, and they shook things up. They were using the Armageddon out of Kyoto, and they didn't find a single Armageddon kill in that series, but they used it quite a bit, right? They had the Deadlock. The Sova is the second up. You have two Sentinels with the Cypher alongside that Deadlock. The Omen, and then Yoru as your offensive duelist, right? It's a big difference. And Case is good at the Yoru, but I have seen Yorus get absolutely torn apart by this Phoenix roster. They're very good at dismantling unbelievably talented Yorus. They did it all Saturday. That was the big difference maker, was Shooter compared to the Yoru on the side of Baker College. So how is Case going to be enough of a difference maker? How is Case going to evolve this Yoru play to try to be enough to force a map 4 in this best of 5? Time will tell, but inevitably, the ball is in the court of Cumberland Destiny. If they can't do it, then Phoenix will have their 3-0. They'll guarantee their ticket to CCC, and they will be the team favorite heading into the LAN just next month.
Yeah, it's something for sure. But even then more so, I mean, seeing how things could just unravel between us. Seeing the Destiny, I do like their composition. That's something that we've seen before with the Deadlock and the Yoru, and something just interesting being brought. But even then still, you would expect, as I mentioned last week, a KO there to kind of have some flash capabilities. While Yorus can flash themselves, KO just feels really good here to have.
Oh, especially recently. I feel like KO pop flashes have been so much more effective. It gets out a little bit faster. It flashes a little bit more effectively. KO is felt in a really good spot. And Phoenix is one of those teams. JMU is also one of the teams, but that felt like there has been so much more effective presence alongside those pop flashes, the flashes of the top with the team. Less likely to flash the whole team, and or even just yourself when trying to engage as a true initiator for the roster, meaning you don't need the Sova guaranteed, but Sova's there for that extra bit of information alongside the 0 point your KO has.
Oh, they know.
They especially know. Paranoia to try to counter. Case and J-Phone have a trade apiece, but it is red in the feed as Destiny may look to get their pistol round win they've been hoping for. But anything could happen if there's still players remaining for Phoenix. But J-Phone does not win out against Geo, who was their doppelganger just the prior map. It's only Shooter now remaining in a 1v4.
We've seen Shooter do some crazy things, but this is not one of them. Doesn't even find a single kill on the retake. Yeah, it's unfortunate to watch, but I mean, it's better yet. We're on the other side of the field. Look at Phoenix, able to go ahead and not find themselves a pistol round to kick things off. That is a mold broken here from Destiny. Good looks, at least for round number 1. Gives them guns and advantage for round number 2. We don't see Phoenix really making too much of an actual force out here to try to really just even things out, because sometimes we do see the investment for sheriffs, we see the investments for, you know, some bulldogs, for some just weird weaponry, or at least sheriffs on the entire side of one of these squads. But here, they know that they're probably swinging into something, and, well, they found out that one of them could be an outlaw.
Not the best weapon to try to contend against when there's nothing you really have. So Phoenix will set up for a possible double peek in play. So our sensor placed there would be an easy way to find out if anyone is there. As Sal will crawl away from it, not wanting to risk the stun that'll come after from the shot, making an easy trade for Destiny. They'd rather take an advantage fight that maybe will be a little bit more so to their side. Shooter will even fall back for some extra pistol damage to ensure that the first or second shot out from that shorty will get a kill. And Smile will now use the recon drone. Spots one player, didn't get it around the corner. This is the big thing now. The Sal will now crawl back in that dark cover. The team has gotten a pretty good option in towards garden, towards tree. This is where you've got Case trying to get a frag. There it is. Vandal up for Shooter. And the team can now go, okay, we've got a little bit off towards A, but we're anticipating that they're going to rotate, so let's start heading over towards B. And they already have their Cypher deep within B main, a full sight line across towards defender spawn. It's just the question of how many players are now on site and make sure we get that door switch pulled or just a smoke to cut that off in the first place, which is successfully done.
Just looking for any kind of efforts here, and even then we see some of that coming out. Waddy can find one with the classic off the headshot. We see, possibility of another. JP able to go ahead and get one with that shorty, but, I mean, it just comes down to whether or not we can actually see the shorty close out one more. And you're just not going to get the range off that one, buddy. We're just going to see a stalemate. We're going to see FSIU just sit here for a while, waiting for a push, waiting for a player to extend. And this is more so a matter of the side of Destiny. Going ahead, looking to see when they can push this guy out, when they can manage to get something rather than just actually sitting there just waiting out that clock or finding the timing off the back of that recon dart. There you see it, making the exchange, jumping up while it's going off, and, well, here it is. That's under their way.
You don't get the shorty kill you were kind of wanting there, Dallas, but you do still get Smile, who's slow to escape, which means an extra rifle dropped. And we talk a lot, if you can get 1 to 2 kills in the second round, we consider that for a lot of teams kind of a moral victory. 3 to 4, you pretty much win the round, even though the score result doesn't show it. And sometimes that's enough, right? It's a big enough victory to set up round 3 and then make round 4 even more expensive if the team has to change up their commitments. And you can definitely see that Destiny want to buy up for this still. They buy an extra rifle despite carrying 2 over. They have a Bucky now, a Sheriff in hand for Geo. Geo has plenty of credits. They've gotten 4 kills. They have yet to die, right? So there's some extra level of comfort for it. You can really just try to use speed and swiftness to deal with this B side as your deadlock as a Sentinel is doing everything possible to do so. And there's the recon bolt trying to get some information, force them to hold back. There's the wall. Waddy's going to be able to stay away from it, but will have to clear it, which means that you can get a whole lot of free movement forward if you're Cumberland Destiny. And Waddy can only use an Owl Drone to hope to try to get that frag for Shooter, and there it is, but Shooter's down to 2. Very low on HP. Case not able to finish it, readying a flash up over the top, trying to maybe set up for a teammate or 2 for a swing thereafter. Smile will get information first and foremost. Shooter can be basically bait here with a Guardian in hand. It's Kyoto, though, still finding one, and Case goes through with no refrag in sight and even gets back down towards the side, but does get wall banged by Waddy. But where's Gerardo? In a side of B main and FSAU. They've been looking back, but the timing is going to be so close. Free kill, make it 3-2. You gotta hit those. There it is. Finally, a swing in tandem from Smile. Guarantees 3 in a row for Destiny.
Yeah, controversy around at the latest, but I mean, even still looking at what's going on there, a possibility for realistically anything coming out there, but a big investment coming through from Phoenix for Destiny just to go ahead and find themselves only 2 players remaining at the end of it. But even worse for Phoenix, knowing they don't even find a round off the back of it. So, I mean, looking at all these sheriffs being stacked up here, everybody's gotten a taste of blood on the board so far, which is a good sign nonetheless. And even then, better yet, Gerardo hasn't had his blood tasted as of yet, sitting on 0 deaths, and the same thing for Smile. But it's only 3 rounds in, still plenty of time left, still plenty of game to go, and it's not going to be too much of a problem here, so long as Phoenix can just find themselves something. Because, well, knowing what they've done in this map in the past to a lot of other teams, we're expecting this one to look relatively close or be strong-sided for them, knowing that, well, while this is still, keep in mind, Phoenix's selection, there's something here to work with.
How close are Waddy and JP looking to hold up at B main? My goodness. They're trying to punish anyone and get something out of the hands of Cumberland Destiny. Geo could be the first person to move into this and fall. Just around the bend. Trap bar could also just be placed to wait out. No teammate there for a refrag either, as it looks like Destiny are starting to move in towards Courtyard. They want to take Tree. JB could be pretty fast to try to engage into this, but you have to be unexpected. And great first blood from J-Phone to take down Case. That removes the chances of that dimensional drift the remainder of the round. You're just really hoping that shooter could hit that shot towards Smile. But with that failure, and with the failure from JP, this is a free rotate now off towards B. Wadi can at least get their kill. That's a Phantom that's collectible, but Smile's trying to force them back and away from it. Shock Dart up. There's the kill. And Phoenix, because Shooter doesn't get that frag inside Tree, Destiny now have a faster rotate off towards B to get that refrag again in main and have that player advantage now fully stacked on site.
Just comes down to a matter of clearing this from a different angle. We've seen them already go ahead and take that from the defender has spawn, having to check B main, didn't really go ahead for the full push. But as long as you check this corner right here, yep, you know it's clear. So it's a point where everybody is on site. You know you've taken attendance, at least in some form or manner. And who's going to be back towards the defender spawn? Why would they be there, better yet? So having at least some kind of guns to work with, having some kind of pressure to give out is going to be good looks for this. With the already Annihilation coming out, finding one singular player hostage as they close down the last one. Makes it an easy 1v2. Go ahead and close out that fourth one here for Destiny. We saw the 3-round start look good for them on obviously Lotus in terms of Phoenix's favor. 0 to 4 is just, I mean, that's the biggest round discrepancy we saw during the entirety of that last map being cleared right off the start.
Look at the way that Kyoto plays that finale there too, because we saw Destiny play this map amazing previously against JMU. In the same way we saw Phoenix play this map wonderfully against JMU, right? But Kyoto was such a big proprietor to the success for them. But the way that they read into the fight against FSAL, hard peeking, methodical, not stopping to go for a next shot, instead trying to bait out and stall. It was just as clean as a whistle. Case using the dimensional drift, trying to body block to maybe get a frag past that point. It is first blood though for FSAU, for Phoenix. Pop flash there. Case is trying to spray and pray, but Case is trapped on site with nowhere really to go, and the team is too slate to get into there, and it's just turned all blue in the feed. It's Phoenix.
Oh my god.
Absolute demolishment of what Destiny were doing, because their entire point of scissoring defensive structures of Case with the Yoru and trying to combo that with the Hunter's Fury caused them to be too slow to the gate to help out with Case in the later parts. And with the second kill, technically the first blood from FSAL in the round, they just lost all momentum and they were all too late to the party. And the balloons were already out and they were released and they came flying up into the stratosphere.
I mean, everybody was there in some extent, but there just wasn't enough really kind of flooded there or enough tension being made towards these separate corners. I mean, obviously you had the two players up towards heaven. You had the one back there on door trying to hold that off, and it just wasn't really kind of going there to favor. And even seeing that you did have that presence there, the players just weren't really pushing the agenda off the back of it. So speaking of pushing, it's Phoenix. Nothing but them pushing beyond their spawn point, completely breaking down that gate you see once the round starts, and pushing the fights out towards the attacker side spawn, at least in one area of the map. What do you got everywhere else, though? Well, an operator towards the middle waiting on you. And, well, speaking of the middle, 2 more players remaining trying to make things happen.
Gerardo. We saw Destiny a lot prowl away from JMU when it came to this pincer exactly right here. And even though they used the same strategy on their defense, they fell victim to the play, which we've talked about a lot. Sometimes the things you're best at can also be your undoing. And for Destiny, that's the case when it comes to this approach on offense. Courtyard now for Smile, rotating up towards Walkway and off towards Garden. And FSAU has the slimmest of angles there to get that kill, but the headshot is as free as can be for a player like this. And it's 2 in a row for Phoenix. We talked a lot about how we didn't see a 3-round in a row spree until the second half, the start of the second half, when they both traded 3 and then followed up with another 3. And we saw obviously a larger gap of things on map 2, but we already saw 4 in a row from Destiny, and we're seeing that momentum continue back the other direction now for Phoenix, as it looks like an eco in the hands for Destiny, who will have to play a very fast offense, and it looks like it'll be a push here towards A, where hopefully they can shut down some of this Phoenix congestion.
I mean, from previous experience, they know they like taking these fights. They know they've done it successfully as well. And with the trade coming through, we see at least a 2-for-2 start. But unfortunately, that's going to be guns handed over. And even then, a little bit of extra damage on the case as well. So as long as we see these players be just really careful about it. Oh, well. Well. I guess I'll just stop talking.
Yeah, Caster's Curse is coming true pretty big here.
Yeah, that was not careful at all. That was.
And they even used the neural theft. I mean, I love the willingness to use the neural theft. I commented on map 1 as well, right, for Haven. It's a 5v2. They're using the neural theft to guarantee they win the round without giving up too much, right? That was a disadvantage because you just lost Case. You didn't really have any info on towards sites. You don't know for sure. You had no utility that can really engage you into sight, and then you use the neural theft in a spot that is, hey, I could at least try to force this jet with the operator a couple steps back. That's a gamble that's just not worth taking 95% of the time. Look at Wadi's HP. Look at that hit coming out from Destiny, knocking down and essentially obliterating an HP pool for a very important player for the remaining stages. And the remaining pushes down through Courtyard, which are likely to be where Destiny try to put some primary point towards.
Well,
whoa!
They're all pointing towards Garden right now. It's just Gerardo, at least on the rear end of it, able to stay alive, just barely. But being the only ultimate available to Destiny so far is not really the best thing you're looking at. Compared to a lockdown and a JP, I mean, I'm not going to say the guy's going to invest it right here, but it sure would buy some nice time for the teammates to go ahead and show up and give a no man some help out.
You want to come through B main. JP pre-firing through a smoke. Let's get one. All of them line up for the Sentinel.
Yep. Perfect.
It's exactly what you'd expect. We saw the same thing happen for UGA Black against Destiny, where you wanted to see these players stacked in spots, and you want to see the all primary swing at once and take advantage of the numbers game, and yet always it felt like Destiny were coming out on top. Well, it's still Cumberland coming out on top, folks, but it's not Destiny. It was Phoenix doing the exact same thing that Destiny was so good at previously. And with that very flush dark cover placed inside B main, there is no way to create enough of a visible sightline or difference for those players extending out. And we saw Kyoto do such good work against JPhone previously of taking a couple steps, or sorry, F-Star previously, taking a couple steps to force their aim awry before they eventually stop and shoot. No one did that on that approach out. And because of that, it leads into a pretty easy cleanup crew moment. And we're tied 4-4. Saw it happen start of the second half on map 1, and it's happened start of this map as a whole. This time, not in 3-3, it's 4-4.
Well, it's the fact that we see even more rounds being accumulated in the spree to get things kicked off, and yet we still see an answer come back to find it on even ground. But one thing that isn't even, head counts already. Phoenix looking good, finding a lot of nice fights, at least on the J-Phone, looking to kind of continue the pacing here. Knowing another player's going to be swinging off the back of that fragment grenade, knowing the damage will be done somewhere, but who else better than Gerardo, the player we have seen accomplish so darn much. He's shut down by something as simple as a shorty. Good lookings coming out there from Shooter. I don't expect this guy to be slowing down, but with Gio being alive and in a 1v2, we have seen him go through worse. So there's possibilities, there's chances, but with him not taking the site and just trying to move the spike towards B, I don't know if that's going to happen.
I mean, there's no way to rotate out away from A, so they just played the audio cue. You've got Wadi watching Tree, which means that they want to go through Courtyard to get back towards B. There's easy access for a kill, or at least gives you the information if they were to lose that 1v1, shockingly enough. Shooter wisens up, saying, I don't have to play to you. I'm going to tailwind the heck out of Tree, out of Garden. I'm going to get all the way back here towards Market, because I know I can't be flanked, thanks to Wadi's positioning. Timing is on my side, and I'll take advantage of that to the best T I can. And with no noise being made, 10-15 seconds of a crawl, it's an easy of a round cleanup as you could possibly ask for. Now 5 in a row for Cumberland Phoenix, and Destiny, who looked pretty darn good to start this out, are a little bit at their wits' end, and they'll take a wise timeout to maybe talk things through and coordinate. I've been seeing pretty good things over on B, but every single time we've seen them really testing the waters on A and even defaulting, Dallas. They're defaulting, which is really where Ascent is really powerful for a lot of teams. It's all falling apart because Phoenix are winning these first blood battles, and even when it goes even, it's the agents, the players individually are too important for Destiny, and Phoenix come out on top.
And even then, also looking at kind of how these Sentinels play is another big factor. Looking at the defense, looking at the attack side, obviously we're missing these side swaps, but having what feels like a KJ compared to a Deadlock Cypher, one end of the spectrum, Destiny can play a little more aggressive oriented with these. We have the Annihilation, we have the Neural Theft, we have the Trips, compared to just having 2 nades and just detection. And when you're playing on defense, you're waiting for these swings. You're already in a bad spot by the time this utility is going out and taking effect. Meanwhile, with Destiny, they have the possibility to be throwing these fights out, taking those together. But instead, it just more so feels like a big denial to say, please, 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 we just got to keep things going, and wait till Shooter or somebody else with more shows up. And, well, they've done a great job of doing that. But they've clearly done a much better job over the past 5 rounds. So they've strung them together back to back to say, well, we know how to slow them down now. And the more you slow them down on this defense for Phoenix, the better that we're going to see Phoenix be against Destiny.
Compare the individual performances right now. J-Phone versus Yoru versus Case. Yeah, Case is a duelist, J-Phone is not. But at the same time, you're self-flashing for yourself like you're an initiator kind of, split role duelist. And J-Phone's doing that absolutely wonderfully. And Case has just not found a direct answer to it. They're falling apart every single time it happens. And J-Phone's just using that as a stepping stone to even more problems, even more free kills, opportunities. And wow, Gerardo. Operator up, trading. Goes back to the Vandal, has to reload it though, and move offense still towards Garden. It's test store, and J-Phone's got their 4K. Yes, the roles and responsibilities are different, but the effectiveness between them are just astronomical. And I said you needed Case to go crazy on this map, Dallas. Yeah, double Sentinel sometimes isn't super strong on offense. That was always going to be the question, is that you got to get to the defense and see what they can do there. We know Kyoto can solo lock down both A and B, and we know it can be the same way for Geo. But they have to have Case do good on their offense to make that shot even more manageable. And Case has not been playing hot. And I think a big part of this is because Phoenix know how to counter Yoru one-tricks. They know how to play really well against Yoru players. And they're doing this while still having ultimates in the back pocket waiting to be used with 2 rounds left. All 5 are online.
Keep in mind, it was the same exact thing on Lotus, remember? Case just wasn't really there. Meanwhile, Shooter was top of the leaderboard on his team, being on the winning side. He's playing the duelist the way he needs to be playing duelist. Meanwhile, Case is just struggling to find some breathing room. The dimensional drift is great for that Hunter's Fury, that kind of wombo combo we noticed earlier. And that's one of the few scams that you do have kind of available to work with. But look at this right here. Trying to swing out, Shooter just feeling comfortable with it, but knowing that there is assistance, knowing there is a support system, knowing there is a team behind that, I can swing this every single day of the week, and I feel confident that if I die, it's not a problem.
Smile has Spike, though, can rotate through Courtyard Dallas to get on over towards the A site. Will not have a weapon to work with, though. Every weapon that was dropped on site was too far. One on walkway, one off towards door switch, and the other one off towards market. So Smile just says, okay, it's 2v1. I just got to do what I can do. And they'll play it in default and try to figure out what they can do from here. And they'll move over towards the Radiant Knight stack. This gives them a visual towards Rafters. This will be their primary point to kind of harp on. No utility placed behind them to really contend with. And they're just hoping that this sightline and visual will not be there. And that is the quickest swing from FSAU, from SL, I think I've seen from them. And J-Phone didn't even know that they were there before it, because they play for the you take 3 steps, I take 1. And it turns into a perfect retake into a site that they have no information for and no utility to really counteract either. 7 of 4. Not only have they guaranteed an even half douse, but they now guaranteed a positive 1. And they used 3 ultimates, yes, in that round, but FSAU still tallied up 3 pips, doing so darn well. And it's not even like those 2 ultimates were super required from them. Its shooter has not even needed to go crazy with it. The operator's been good enough, and the shorty's been enough of a safety net, and they still have a lockdown and a Hunter's Fury, man. Look at the amount of stall that's in their back pocket is unreal.
Yeah, they haven't really felt too pressured. I mean, keep in mind, sure, we saw the 4 rounds off the start, all in a row for Destiny, and things were looking pretty grim for Phoenix fans. But ever since then, 7 in a row for Phoenix. Not just 7 altogether, 7 in a row. It's one of those moments where you're saying, we got to take a second timeout during this one half. But what can you say to your guys and what you can do differently when every time they get into a fight, they just seemingly can't finish it?
Case, who's been struggling in this half, is now alone in a 1v3, and it will be a 3v0 quickly afterwards. So yes, not only was it 7 in a row, but it's 8 in a row, and Phoenix have nothing but momentum. And considering we've only seen a single pistol round go the wrong way for Phoenix, statistically speaking, they are likely in their better pistol rounds. They've had 2 flawlesses. They had a knife in one of them, right? Like, their best pistols come off of their offenses, and look where they are now. Does that mean they'll get the second one? They get round 14 as well? Who knows? It's 50-50 for it. But they've got such a major lead, twice the scoreline, and the momentum's behind them. This turns into a question of Prometheus pushing the mountain uphill, right? Like, at some point, you got to enjoy the struggle if you're Destiny. And take Destiny by its horns and try to turn things around. But Phoenix are in control of things for the time being, and the wheel keeps turning as they get first blood as well.
Yep. And who else better than Shooter just kind of go ahead and push it right in the middle of the map? Look for that attendance check, see where you're really starting to run into players. You don't have any assistance here, but I mean, it seems like Shooter has never cared about that. This guy's always seemingly seen shoulders or gun barrels and just knows that this is a corner I should probably fire at, and never even really checks things before putting a couple shots into it, knowing that, okay, as long as that placement is correct, if somebody's behind it, I will find the kill, and then guess who's going to be there to trade? The guy around the other side of the box. So when I see that kill banner, you flick to the left, and, well, they should be waiting there for their turn. Maybe going 6 feet under, just like the rest of the team. So with all that money, with all that presence, it's such a big, surmountable lead of 9 in a row for CU Phoenix. Leads us to think, is Destiny going to have a chance? Round number 3 is really going to be the biggest one for this.
Look how patient Phoenix are playing this as well. Their KJJP is going to play off towards A, make a ton of noise, try to get as much information. Even if they lose that fight, if you can get any information over there, that there's 2, if there's 3, the team will commit here towards B as fast as they can. Turret will be laid in. Shooter now has the go-ahead. Shooter will now step just below off towards stairs. So get another teammate to try to flip that door for Switch, but Smile still gets them a kill through, and JP, who is still lagging behind off in mid, is only able to give up a single Sheriff to their name, does not drop a Vandal, which means there is still no real rifle for Destiny, despite them still having that numbers advantage for just an area moment. Their Shooter off with Case. Now we'll join around the band. It's traded util for util, and Wadi now has full information, and Gio gets damaged alongside Kyoto. So even though it's an even spot, they're low on HP, but Kyoto still claws in. Rest on your laurels, we dare you, says Destiny. And FSAU, FSAU peeking for more. Trying to get shot through the wall. The recon bolt flying to run all the way back through Boathouse. Your headshot through the corner of the wall. They can't peek in time. And I think Destiny are totally content with this being a round loss. They know it. They just want to try to strip these weapons out of their hands. And it will be everyone falling, but no weapons can carry through to round 15 of this half.
It's that point where they understand that, I mean, there's got to be a greater win to this. And even then, with such a deficit to their name right now of those 6 rounds, they understand it's at least enough to do something here. So long as you win this round out with your purchase, keep enough players alive, make things interesting enough, that 5, then 6, then 7 becomes 8, 9, and 10, where we get right back to that margin of rounds that has been similar for us for the entirety of the series thus far. That, 1 to 3 round margin. Because 6 out of this squad on this map I'm not going to say unacceptable,
Down A.
but definitely
One enemy
disappointing.
remaining.
Destiny, they got this thing locked down and they want to make it 5.
No more. My ult is ready.
Wadi is last person remaining to try to give something here to him, but you knew this round was going to go poorly in the first place with how poor it came previously. And now you just have all of Destiny kind of waiting. No matter which way you peek here, you have 2 players with a perfect crossfire.
You're just cooked.
But you do get a Vandal. Wow. Do they rush them? No, they don't.
Last thing you want to do is funnel them one by one. Especially
Even
when you look
here-
at the kind of state of the round. You don't have much utility left.
Yeah, but you're
Just
stuck
the
in a
things that
funnel no matter the
regenerate.
case. If you try to move off towards Tree and Garden, even with the time in your back pocket, you're still creating the opportunity. Yes, it's phantom pressure, and you could rotate back, but do you have 40 seconds? Is that enough time to go all the way through to Tree, break door, break glass, create 2 variable approaches, and then lap all the way back through main? No. They knew that. They go for the shots. And the round result is indicative. It's now still half the total score of Phoenix if you're on the Destiny roster, but it goes from 8 to 4 to now 10 to 5. It's still 1 more than they had, and it'll be rifles back in the hands of Phoenix.
It's 1 more inch up that hill. I mean, considering that Phoenix, there's a chance they don't go anywhere. That peak doesn't move up in latitude anymore. So long as you can lock them out, make things difficult. You're pushing faster than they can really kind of shift, and you will surpass it eventually. Problem is right here, see the investment of the ultimate already being made by the Hunter's Fury. Not much information off the back of it, but enough to say, I think we can press W, and there it is. J-Phone solo clearing sight. Just running through whoever wants to give him a chance.
Jeez. Small coming in from Rafters. Kyoto pretty far away in Courtyard, and Kyoto, I think, is just decided they're going to save this and keep the rifle to their name. Phoenix only losing a single player in this round means that any of the eco problems they had coming into this are completely null and void. They will be plenty fine heading into this, heading into their next and possibly the one thereafter. Because we talked a little bit about it when it was close, how Phoenix were not just looking to that next round, they were looking 2 rounds ahead from when it was match point, praying that Destiny would be in an eco. And despite Destiny getting a win, they did it by a slim margin, and they still, at 12 to 11, we're in an eco round. We're on a thrifty, and then Phoenix tore them asunder. Phoenix are so good at playing, thinking about things further than they have to, thinking about things in a way that put a team in a very uncomfortable spot and force them to fidget, force them to second guess absolutely everything. And Destiny are in that spot. Looking down the barrel, the wrong end of the barrel of match and series point. 1 away there for Phoenix, and 2 away from a 3-0 grand finale for the SEL.
Well, it doesn't matter which way you're looking down the barrel. You don't want to be looking down the barrel. You want to look above the barrel if you're
True.
shooting.
Yeah, it would be bad gunship to look down the other end, I guess, but
Like, I'm great. I'm looking at a hammer right now. I don't know what the hell I'm shooting at. That's bad gun courtesy. They'll kick you out of the range. But it's okay. Half these guys like swinging with their util out anyways. So, that's not going to be much of a problem.
they're not looking through the barrel, man. They're looking through the back
They're looking
side
at,
of a
they're looking
fragment.
through the gaps of their fingers.
Oh my goodness. J-Phone, though, goes crazy, get themselves some leeway. Case also got a couple, but it's not necessarily enough to give Destiny that little bit of a gap. And Kyoto was the last one standing. We've seen Kyoto be pretty darn crazy, but no chance for this one. It's 12-5. Match and series point. The SEL for our, what's this, spring split has turned into a Cumberland Grand Finale, and it's going to end a Cumberland Grand Finale. But for the Phoenix roster, in a 3-0 fashion, unless Destiny can change something, man, because it has been a tumultuous affair, to say the least.
Great lineups here. I mean, just showing, once again, everybody on the end to see Phoenix. I mean, this is it here. This is Ascent, people. This is a map that everybody should know. This is going to be the selection, once again, of Destiny. And, well, as we said, I mean, at least you see more kind of 3 to 6 ranges. The 7, 8, 9 is kind of a bit of an outlier. And, well, while they got time to get it done, and pretty good start to get advantage, man, they still got a big hill in front of them, even if they end up winning this round.
Oh! Oh my god! Look at the way they read that 2v1. JFO knows they can take it. If they break them out of the annihilation, they can be restabilized. The ult is popped purely so that they can sacrifice themselves to save FSAU. And now you're on site. You want to tap the spike, but Gio's so close by, hoping for the hunt. Comes out with the stinger. Now you're pincered. But where's the turn from J-Phone? Now Gio alone. 1v1. FSAU spike is completely far away from him. But they can get the ult pip in B main and then use the From the Shadows to collect the spike once again and get the plant for free down on B site, Dallas. This is genius from FSAU to have this plant for B.
It's like, bump this. I can go anywhere else and do what I need to do. But even then still, the read's there. I mean, regardless, I mean, we're not even having to see the investment from Gio to actually get that. This guy can make the read and actually just stick it. If he looks around and sees it's clear, he's just going to hold on to it.
Oh my goodness!
This broke your ankles, boy!
Spike planted, cover going out.
10,000 steps ahead, and Gio tried their best but couldn't be there in time. No corpses nearby for Phoenix either, which means the neural threat would be too difficult to use in actual effect. And FSAU knows that. All the way up on rafters, dark cover laid. Pre-fire from Gio could be there. Knife out, pre-fire, damage is done, but it's just a battle of test! And Gio comes out on top despite the big brain of FSAU. It's 6 for Cumberland Destiny, keeping Phoenix back from closing out this grand finale.
So exciting considering the score is half of what Phoenix has. But I mean, hey, every little step counts. Keep yourself relevant. Keep the game going. And that's how comebacks start. Don't worry about the ending. Just worry about keeping it going. And Destiny, they want this relevancy. They've been very good at it. But man, they got a big hill in front of them, knowing that, I mean, they got to play on this defense over and over again. And we've seen Phoenix with a pretty big just usage. I mean, obviously with the Null Commander in that last round, Hunter's Fury not too far before that. Bladestorm being invested now. Phoenix, they are hungry for it because they know they have so much of a gap between them and the scoreline of Destiny, but the swings are coming through. The aggression is out there, but they are a player down, and they don't even have that spike touch to the site.
Oh, but they want to get this locked down as fast as they can. All they need is a couple rounds of wiggle room with the ultimates, and that's even if they need that. Wadi, share shot through a wall, down goes Case. Kyoto trying to manage the gun economy off on stairs and keep them away from Phoenix. And Gerardo goes for a pretty tangential swing to find a huge kill on the retreating players for Phoenix's side. Spike still left off inside of Octopus in towards B main, and JP's trying to make as much noise as possible to flush these players off of that B site, guessing that they're following suit alongside it. There goes JP. Recon bolt over the top, nowhere near, does not hit Garden. Now you got JP towards defender spawn, but Smile sees that J-Phone. Get the hell on site! What are you doing? Trying to hit switch there. You have a teammate watching it for the cross. You need just to wait for them on time, and you're paying the price. JP, Phantom in hand, still bunny hopping around with the classic, saying, okay, I'll be fine dying here. I got my one off towards A, and I have my lockdown ready for this next round.
Maybe then just the timing of that, where you do see just for a second there, Smile turns around and sees JP's like, oh, yeah, I got to get out of here. Yeah, have fun with that, buddy, because you're going to run to me now. I mean, it's that reveal where you know that even then the player was over towards Garden for that initial pick. The comm's made, and at that point, it's just a race of who can really get on the site faster. And I mean, JP, if we didn't see that kill, if we didn't see J-Phone just get dropped towards that B side of main, then, I mean, that round becomes so doable. You're just playing for the clock. You're just waiting for JP to just get that timing there, find that positioning, and shut down, or even then get a bit of a collateral, just completely nullify any retake that was kind of going to be in progress there for a second. But there's a lot more buy rounds available, plenty of opportunities, and as you talked about that lockdown being there inside the game, it's now actually feasible to throw down. So we're going to see exactly how this is played out, because even for a second, FSAU just has that foot revealed for a second. You're looking for the trades, but there's literally nobody to be seen nearby to make it.
Camera taken out.
Gio trying to play in utility afterwards.
Oh, yeah, they're swinging
rushed
that.
in while they still get one. That's a lot of noise and a free cleanup for Case.
He's back.
Finally seeing confidence from this player and reproducible results on top. 8th on the docket here for Destiny, unless we see JP pull off something crazy. But 8 is such an easier scoreline to think about than the 4 you had at one point, right? And you started off the map so well. It was that 4 in a row, right? The only 4 you got in that first half. Now things are starting to billow more towards your side. Case now getting their 4th of the round. And the Dimensional Drift is online alongside every other ultimate you could possibly ask for, and it's an eco in front of the Phoenix side. 9 here for Destiny, bar incredible eco round. And then you're looking at wanting to get to double digits. Likely there'll be a second ultimate, I believe, for Phoenix to be available shortly after that. We know the lockdown, that's what? Probable for B site, I'd assume, Dallas, unless they can get control of Garden and plant it for A. What other ultimates are close? Can we get a look at the scoreboard here real fast, Bulby? What other ultimates are close here for Phoenix? I can't imagine the Hunter's Fury is close yet once again. Maybe the From the Shadows. No, I guess it is. The Hunter's Fury is pretty darn close. They maybe try to get the Old Orb economy here for Wadi. Get 1 pip, die in the round, and you've got yourself a really good combination for the Hunter's Fury and the lockdown. Especially considering you're likely to see their Hunter's Fury counter the lockdown in some capacity. You could counter that with your own Hunter's Fury and guarantee the kill.
Which, I mean, even then, you don't have to worry about the Hunter's Fury because you can also counter that. Rock, paper, scissors. With the null command.
Yeah.
I mean, keep in mind, I mean, J-Phone, look at just the kills from that guy alone. He's 6 more kills to the second highest inside the lobby, who's tied, actually, between FSAU and Smile. So, I mean, this guy has been accumulating ultimates like nobody's business, but, I mean, he hasn't been using them like absolutely nothing, just waiting for those critical moments. So it becomes a matter of more so J-Phone, I mean, we saw the capability of what the null command could do. This guy has the situational awareness to know when it should actually be popped. But even then still, the capability of, we talk about collecting the pips for some players don't need to collect pips when they just hit shots.
Fake teleport.
Case will take a big step backwards.
Shock dart.
Phoenix are looking to get everything in front of them. JP's low on HP, though. What fight came down at B main? Lucky choice was Geo for the side of Destiny with an initial fight. Shooter will lay a cloud burst to get a free walkthrough to market. With JP already having most of B main, you do have a player pincered there, but you're also stuck yourself within market, which means your team needs to start to move forward. Look at FSAU. They were within a dark cover. They Shrouded stepped into it. They get a good kill. Shooter from within market does deal with Geo on site. You've got B, but you don't have the ability to walk that player back into it because you don't have an Omen. FSAU goes down. Case has free information. J-Phone will be laid in. Will be laid out, I'd argue. No, Case can't get it in time. They get into it, and this fight goes in favor for Phoenix. Case has to clutch. How do you pull back this type of round? Case has to pull off a miracle. They'll swing hard. 1 in towards defender. Spawn and J-Phone, who should have been killed by Case 15 seconds before, but it's the final nail in the coffin for Case and the entirety of the Destiny roster. Grand finale set in stone for this season of the SEL for this split. And Cumberland takes it. We knew it, but it's Phoenix to do so.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, after not more one, that should have been relatively expected. I mean, looking at the Haven, we talk about that being the masterclass of the Destiny roster, seeing what they've done, seeing how they play it out. I will say the crazy thing is we didn't see any of those kind of like 1vx scenarios. We saw a player jump out and throw their life on the line to make the trade for the other. And that is one thing that's insane to me, where it almost feels like it seems like a genius kind of way to play the trades in the big scheme of things whenever you're looking at, you know, it from a perspective against every other team in the league. But the fact that they're terrified to do that against their brother team is just so funny to me, because they're just saying, see, this guy will kill both of us, so don't do that at all. We played 3 whole maps and never got even a sight or a smell of it. So, I mean, it's absolutely insane to see. But, I mean, obviously Phoenix being the number 1 seed, I mean, they proved that in 2 to 3 maps. The first one obviously being really close, but the second one being their own selection showed that they can still obviously win their own maps and not give over any stupid mistakes. And then map number 3 of Ascent being the one where we talk about being the most relative home ground of all of Valorant. They still make it that big score discrepancy, not allowing too much to really slip through, still locking a team down at only 6.
Now, keep in mind, heading into the LAN in May, Last semester, BPC, Bruton Parker, took the spring finals and then also proceeded to take the LAN finals, right? And it wasn't even the same teams for everything throughout, right? There was difficult matches for everybody, but came down to a rematch and it came into a ridiculously good finals for the spring, as well as in LAN in Huntsville for a ridiculously late, but still super solid full best of 5, right? So can we see Cumberland Phoenix do the exact same thing? Are we going to see Cumberland Phoenix perform what Bruton Parker did with, once again, a team and a roster that's all brought in from more than just America, right? And having such a solid repertoire of talent? Or is somebody going to do what seems impossible, especially after a grand finale like this, and pull off the upset come May and shut them down? Because there is a lot of odds that you can look at, whether that be over on CVAL, whether that be looked throughout the history of the games we've seen here for the SEL. There are teams that are going to be difficult as all get out facing off against them. And it's going to also include this Destiny roster that's going to feel pretty scorned after the result of this grand finale, not getting a single map and struggling on the final 2 to even keep the round tally as close as they would have wanted.
And even then, I mean, looking just difficult on their own. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I mean, when you're supposed to have something that's kind of your claim to fame that we talk about all season, it's not even a matter of studying at that point, even then more so. It just feels like Phoenix, they said, okay, hype them up all you want. We're gonna beat them in it. And it's one of those things where, I mean, you got to have some kind of claim there. And while it works on everybody else, it shows that just the level of that what Phoenix is doing. If even then the great, the seed number 2 through 5 still can't even really touch Destiny on that matter. And Phoenix still, I mean, while keeping it close, still end up winning it. It's enough. And even then that was off the back of a 6-6 half. So you can't go ahead and give credit over to the pistol round and say those really made the difference. Well, yes, they did later on. And those other maps, going ahead and winning out 1-1, and even then it was struck back immediately by Destiny. I was thinking, hey, maybe we're gonna be here back forth, 1 round for 1 the entirety of the time, and it got to the point where, like I said, those 2-round strings. But past that point, past Haven, you could think it's okay, a matter of strats, a matter of executions, things like that. But keep in mind, we had 2 maps in a lot of instances where the pistol round strung together 3 to 5 rounds afterwards of just back to back. And you're saying, this is supposed to be as close as it gets. And you're letting that many rounds slip through just right off the rip.
A series is a series nonetheless, Dallas. In the ending result, Cumberland get to bring home a trophy and also come away saying we got first and second. This is not the SEL any further. This is the Cumberland EL. And they're, I'm sure, very happy with the result. Seen a lot of their social media posts complimenting and talking about it overall. But we're going to take a very short break. Probably only going to be 2 to 3 minutes because we're going to go ahead and get an interview in with one of the winning players on the side of Cumberland Phoenix. I actually believe it's FSAU because FSL. So we shall see. Thank you all very much for tuning in. I'll be right back. Let's hear what they have to say. The SEL split may be over now, Dallas, but the broadcast tonight isn't just yet. My name's Infernos, joined here by Mick, aka Dallas, and down below us, a handsome lad by the name of FC, which now we're apparently getting the name right. A little a conversation beforehand with
the big reveal we were all waiting for.
The important part of the interview that was in the questioning prior to the interview. But congratulations to you 100% for coming away with the victory. Y'all have gotten your CECC bid as well because of this.
Right.
I know there's something that y'all were talking about as well on your social media for Cumberland. How does that feel knowing that you've now guaranteed that and more lands all throughout this last month of April?
I mean, it's just amazing. We've been working very hard throughout the whole semester to reach our end goals, which was to qualify for all the lands. And now we have successfully succeeded in that. So everyone's very happy, and we're ready to go to land.
All right.
I think that was a big thing, clearly, because, I mean, you and I obviously were discussing, Scott, talking about, like, you know, what's the primary factor here? Because clearly, I mean, you and Destiny have already made it to land, just making it in the finals in general, but this ECC land definitely, makes sense too. Going out to Texas is going to be great and all, but I mean, specifically speaking about this in SEL and more specifically being at LAN, a big concern, at least on my behalf, was obviously facing your brother team. I feel like you guys probably scrimmed yourselves at least a little bit. You can go ahead and tell us if we're completely wrong on that matter, but still, I mean, it feels like this is more of a stress test. Are you guys concerned about at least just kind of showing what you're capable of in the big scheme of things, or because of the score discrepancy by the end of it, you're just saying, okay, clearly if this is what it's like against the second best team, everything else shouldn't be nearly as much of a problem for you?
Yeah, no, we're very confident going into the line. We haven't actually scrimmed the Destiny team before. We have.
That's crazy.
That's like months ago. So we didn't know exactly where the levels were compared, but I think the trio today showed that we've been working hard, and we're getting closer to our belts.
I'm sure y'all have lofty aspirations, big goals in front. Yeah, that is actually, I'm baffled by that as well.
Because you have one of the best scrim partners in all of Southeast America, right there, literally in the same facility. You're just like, yeah, well, I don't want you.
No.
I can understand why Case was mad last week. He seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder. Like, you're not good enough for me? Are you too good? Like, I can't.
No, and they're honestly very good, but I think we're just it's very small margins how we're winning. So I mean, it's just tiny bit of extra work we're putting, which shows off on the in game.
Yeah. I think there's nothing more to prove it. I mean, y'all have worked hard to get land after land now solidified. A grand finals for the SEL. You cemented legacy and a history here, right? And your university has done that as a program, right? I mean, I think y'all are also in the grand finals this Wednesday for Rocket League, and they've also guaranteed they're going to LAN, right? So it's going to be a pretty Cumberland heavy LAN down in Huntsville for the SEL. So that's something to look forward to for you guys. But on top of that, you guys also are continuing on for CVAL, and y'all had a pretty close series overall, I would argue, maybe this last Saturday against Baker College. How is the preparation for SEL in comparison to preparation for the teams at that caliber in CVAL?
I mean, I feel like the preparation is kind of the same. Like we show up to practice, we give it our all, 100% every day. So our preparation is the same, but we know we have a very tough match. We actually rescheduled it for tomorrow against Maryville. We beat him last time we beat him. We was very, very close. So
yeah,
but I think we're ready. I think we're all confident, and we know what we're capable of. So we'll see tomorrow.
Right.
I think, honestly, I mean, speaking to that with the different teams and things like that, obviously when it comes around to SEL, I mean, credit to all the teams that y'all are playing up against. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's that point where they're basically just going to have to watch their match against y'all. I think it's a litmus test compared to anything else. I mean, we look at the rest of the teams in the leagues. If you go ahead and they play to your standard, that's kind of something. So if there is a team that you're kind of mostly, I would say, worried about, besides obviously when it comes around to Destiny, who would be kind of the biggest threat that you're looking at? Or if there's somebody that you want to go ahead and chow out and say, okay, we're looking out for y'all, but it still shouldn't be relatively a competition. Which one of those teams at LAN would it be? Because JMU's had a lot of hype behind their name. GMU's had a lot of hype behind their name. And obviously, Scott and I always have our pitch in for, Charlotte and what they can do over there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't know exactly what teams are coming to the SEL in. But every team we play, it's always everyone's very good. But again, it's just small margins that we managed to win our games. But I think like our main competitor that we're looking to beat is Winthrop, Maryville, kind of these big universities that we're competing
He's
with
not
right
even
now.
talking about SEL.
They're not looking
He's
for
like,
it.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
best in the
I'm
country. Yeah,
Everybody
everybody there.
This is we can't put the cart before the horse for them here, Dallas. They've got to get
I'm
the
sorry.
job in front of them done before they can move on. Speaking of that, though, and the CVAL competitors y'all have had overall through that, where CVAL South and championships and everything like that.
Right.
If there was a team that you would fear, because I know y'all lost the CVAL South finals against West Virginia, right? Close game, though. It required all 5. Y'all beaten them every other time you faced them, but that game was obviously different. If there was a team, though, from CVAL South that you would fear to come into the SEL, who would it be? I swear I'm definitely not going to be reaching out to them after this to get them to apply for the next semester of the SEL, but who would you look forward to seeing step into the ropes here for SEL?
I mean, since CVAL South, I think like our biggest competitor has been not Winthrop, West Virginia, if I'm correct. Yeah. West Virginia for CVAL South. We have managed to beat them a lot before, but they did go ahead and beat us in the grand finals, the best of 5. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
So that's probably our main competitor, but I'm pretty confident we're gonna beat them if we play them at LAN.
Okay. Glad to hear that. Listen, we're going to be in contact with a lot of those CVAL South teams to get them on into the SEL. So we're hoping to provide y'all with even more competition come around to the next split and make it that much more difficult for those teams to make it to LAN. So it's nice to see these great matches and see you get tested for some of the other teams that, dreading the potential for playoffs and everything past that. But I think that's really all we have for you here for this interview. Unless, Dallas, you have another question you want to ask? We'll go ahead and give you a platform to stand real fast. If you have anyone you want to shout out, whether it be the Destiny roster, your program, your coaching staff, your director, I'll just give you the chance to do so.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and shout out to all my teammates, everyone on Destiny, like just everyone at Cumberland. I think everyone's doing an amazing job. Everyone is willing to put in the work that it takes. So all credits to them.
There you go. Short, sweet, simple to the point. Shout out our university that's given them enough, given a wild support, and also has risen to the occasion here for the Southeast, for the SEL specifically, having multiple teams now guaranteed for the Valorant, as well as having their Rocket League team go through as well. And I believe they're the favorites in the grand finals for Rocket League as well. I'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow in the State of the SEL. Tune into that one, standard broadcast time, 7 CST on Tuesdays. But with that being said, FSA, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here for the interview. It's great to have a grand finale interview, Dallas, here that isn't them swearing that they never scrim, never practice, aren't worried about anyone here. AKA side here for UGA. I love side of that though, but I'm constantly digging them for that interview. But that is all we have for this broadcast. Tune in on Tuesday for Set of the SEL. Tune in Wednesday for the grand finale as well. Cumberland will be there once again. And shout out to every team that participated. It's been an absolute pleasure. And we look forward to seeing everyone that makes it to LAN and the breakdown of those tiebreaker matches for that LAN come May. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you guys next time.